So, why do ordinary people commit extraordinary acts of horror? Roy Baumeister is one of the most influential social psychologists of the last half century, best known for his work on self control, the self, belongingness, violence, and free will. He has published over 700 plus scientific works and 40 plus books, and he has shaped multiple subfields in psychology. And he has an explanation, at least for part of this. So, Roy Baumeister's evil inside human violence and cruelty dismantles one of our most comforting illusions that evil is done by monsters, aberrations, or people fundamentally unlike us. His argument is far more unsettling. Evil, he insists, is usually committed by ordinary people who believe that they are justified, provoked, or even morally righteous. To understand violence, he argues, we must stop looking only through the eyes of victims and start examining the mindset of the perpetrators. It's an uncomfortable thing to do. But he wants to do this not to excuse them, but to understand how cruelty becomes possible. Now, Baumeister began with a simple but destabilizing observation. Victims and perpetrators inhabit different moral universes. Victims experience harm as intentional, malicious, and unprovoked. Perpetrators rarely see it that way. They tell themselves stories about necessity, retaliation, honor, humiliation, or higher purpose. This gap in perception is not a minor detail. It is the psychological engine that drives violence, escalation, and cycles of revenge. Each side believes the other struck first. Each side believes their own actions are proportionate. And each side believes the other is the true source of evil. The book's most provocative claim is that violence is not committed by sadists or psychopaths for the most part. Those cases do exist, but they are rare. Far more common is the ordinary person who lashes out when self control collapses, when pride is wounded, when humiliation festers, or when a noble cause demands sacrifice. Baumeister shows how people commit atrocities not because they reject morality, but because they believe they are upholding it. Idealism, the belief that one is serving a higher good, has justified some of the worst cruelty in human history. When people are convinced that they are on the side of righteousness, they become capable of extraordinary harm. Self control, in Baumeister's account, is the thin membrane separating everyday frustration from catastrophic violence. Most people feel anger, envy, or aggression, but they restrain themselves. When those restraints weaken through stress, intoxication, rage, or social pressures, the line between the ordinary life and destructive action becomes frighteningly thin. Evil, in this view, is not a demonic force, but a failure of regulation, a moment when impulse overwhelms restraint. Baumeister also challenges the cultural myths that keep us naive. We like to believe the world is fair, that good people do good things and evil announces itself with obvious warning signs. But violence is often situational, not dispositional. People who commit harm often look like everyone else because they are like everyone else. The belief that evil people are a separate category blinds us to the condition that makes cruelty possible and repeatable. The implications are uncomfortable but necessary. If evil is not a rare mutation but a human potential, then preventing violence requires more than just punishing villains. It requires understanding how ordinary people justify harm, how conflicts escalate, how humiliation fuels aggression, and how moral clarity can become a weapon. Baumeister's work pushes us to confront the psychological mechanisms that allow cruelty to flourish in families, communities, and political systems. Only by understanding the perpetrator's mindset, without endorsing it, Can societies design systems that interrupt violence before it begins? In the end, Baumeister's message is not that humanity is doomed, but that humanity is vulnerable. Evil is not an external force invading society. It is a human capacity that emerges under predictable conditions. Recognizing that truth is the first step towards preventing the next act of cruelty committed by someone who, until the moment they crossed the line, looked very much like the rest of us.